Like since the election, the Republicans really are faced with a crossroads. And the two analyses are either, oh, we were too far right, or the other analysis is, oh man, we lost our base. We sold out. We're not hardcore enough.
I don't necessarily buy this idea that, oh, the Republican Party is in such trouble. I think that political parties have a way of surviving. You know, they tend to find their bearings, but it takes people actually coming to terms with the reality of what's going on around them. Now,
but they're being distorted. Like the party politics are being distorted from that trend because of Citizens United. So as long as they want to bankroll something, it's going to keep on going no matter whether it's good or bad.
I think some of these guys see themselves in that mold, whereas, you know, it's like, I'm a capitalist and I believe in free enterprise, to the point where they would rather support that way of thinking than enjoy an economy where they'd make more money, which like they did under Clinton, which they possibly could under Obama if things stay on the same trajectory as they're on now. And it's sort of ideology over what's even in their interest. We always talk about the interests of working class white people and how they're voting against their interests. Well, sometimes rich people are voting against their interests too. So there is a contradiction between wanting to pay people low wages and actually having people who can pay for your products. You know?
Yeah, right. I mean, it's like we want to buy our stuff, but they can't afford it. What?
Right.
Yeah, because we're not paying them enough to build the stuff.
And if everybody works at the same store and then everybody shops at the same store, and you're paying them less than your products cost, then you're probably going to end up with a problem.
Mm-hmm, yeah. So, so what happened in the election?
I think there was a reaction to a lot of the state party efforts to institute voter ID laws.
So you think there was a backlash?
Right.
Because people didn't like being insulted in terms of folks trying to selectively deny voting rights,
right?
County by county, like, you know, forget about saying it's racist or whatever. It's just like people just don't like that,
right?
You know,
it's psychology 101. I mean, you know, people don't like being told that they can't do something, and I think that's what happened. And I think that so you generated a lot of turnout in areas, and I have to believe on a level that the Obama campaign anticipated that would happen. Because what's interesting to note is that while they struck the voter ID laws down in the courts in most of these states, I think it might have been in all of them, they didn't do a lot of follow-up as far as making people realize that these laws had been overturned. They sort of like let there were still billboards up and it was still on people's websites. I'm not sure if, you know, they were that smart about it, but I think that perhaps that they were willing to let it lie a little bit, even though they had won the legal battles. I do subscribe to the theory that Hurricane Sandy did matter because on several levels. One is the obvious. The president was being the president. When you have, you know, successive debates and you have daily news and different news channels and all the chatter and all the internet stuff and all the various forms of communication that we have to sustain every day. When something like that happens, when an act of nature happens that's of a significant gravity and it's significant tragedy, it's sort of, we all become a little bit more serious and all that stuff starts to look a little silly, and then all of a sudden we realize this is the president of the United States, and it woke a lot of people up to the fact that was the case. It wasn't two guys running for president, it was the president versus the guy who wanted his job.
I think that Romney could have used that, though. I think that his messaging really stunk when it came to the hurricane.
Well,
because
I disagree with you. I don't really think that he could have done much except for.
You think it was just hopeless for him there? Yeah.
I'm not saying it would have lost an election, but it was difficult. It was difficult to navigate because if he did too much, it wouldn't have looked right, and if he did too little, it wouldn't have looked right. So it's
hard terrain.
I don't know what I would have done as his campaign manager.
And Romney said at the convention, like the last moment of the convention, he said, President Obama thinks he can lower the oceans or whatever.
Yeah,
He was trying
stop
to
the rise of the oceans.
deride
And people
that.
laughed, right? And the oceans literally rose right before the election, which is a bit of a beautiful irony.
So when you look back on it, essentially Romney's message was, I'm not only can't do anything bad, I'm not going to do anything bad.
Which leads me to another point. FEMA is a federal agency, and much like the situation, much how Katrina hurt Bush, Sandy helped Obama, because it showed that, when push comes to shove, corporations will not save you, and state agencies, are contained within their borders, and you really do need a functioning apparatus of government that can be not only taken seriously, because everybody hates government until they need it the most, but also administered seriously.
There was a lot of positions that the Republicans took that a lot of people thought was unhealthy for the campaign, especially in regards to women. But I think that the real takeaway about the election has nothing to do with what was said, but who is with the Republicans, and whether they can sustain what they're doing right now. So I'm thinking about coalition, not the what, the who. The Latinos, the Asian Americans, the immigrants, women, and it just seems like it's not an issue of they failed to make a coalition. It seems that like there were a lot of little choices where when you add it all up, it seems that they are swinging away from the idea of a coalition. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, all of these consistent, take the Boca Raton remarks about the 47%. Time after time throughout the campaign, we saw similar remarks, whether it was on behalf of, whether it was Ryan or whether it was Romney or whether it were other, principals within the party who were saying stuff like this. And it was a lot of exclusionary language. And the thing that happens with exclusionary language is people tend to forget their ideology, and just the fact that you're not including them in the people that they're, attempting to get to vote for them. We can have an argument over whether it's the positions or whether it's the message. Forget about that. It's the very fact that you're no longer even asking certain people for their vote, which is a problem.
So thank you, Mike. We've been drinking this Cabernet. I appreciate it.
This is one of the worst wines I've ever had. It's good that we're drinking the Dionysian tradition. Tomorrow is Jim Morrison's birthday, so
Sounds good. All right.
There you go.